Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and today I will be giving to you one of the greatest One Piece theories of all time, including the Void Century, who is Joyboy, and much more. A YouTube friend of mine came up with one of the best theories I have ever heard. A theory that involves foreshadowing that takes place all the way back to the first volume of One Piece, and also a lot of foreshadowing within Thriller Bark. In this theory, he explains why he believes that Oars is the original Joyboy, the king of the ancient kingdom. The importance of how Oars, the continent puller, destroyed the world known as Pangea, which is also named for the Pangea castle. Oars was the biggest threat to the world and the world government in the previous world war 800 to 900 years ago. And Oars, who is also Joyboy, created the new world as it's known today. Did you ever wonder why there was no military forces in the new world, and instead we have Kaido, Big Mom, and different races, and many of the most important islands that reside here? It's because Oars destroyed the world and created Wano. This all happened because he realized the world was going to be lost. This theory is a bit confusing due to timelines, however, with the added element of time travel, timelines and age hardly matter anymore in One Piece. Now I helped him with about 5%, maybe not even that much of the theory, but almost all of the research was also his, and it was all done by him, and I really recommend go check out that video. It goes much deeper. It's much better with the pictures that are shown. He did a lot of work to get this theory up, so do check out his channel. I will leave a link in the description. Anyways, today I will be explaining to you why we truly believe Oars is Joyboy. First, let's start off with a correction that many fans have of Oars and Oars Jr. In this theory, I will be referring to Joyboy as Oars the First. There is a misconception in the One Piece community that there are only two Oars. Many believe that Oars and Little Oars Jr. are the only Oars to exist in the One Piece world because they are the only ones that we have seen. However, Oars Jr. Jolly Roger proves that there have been at least 3 Oars to roam the earth and that Oars Jr. is the third. But Oda is very tricky in his wording because you hear Junior, so you immediately assume that Oars is the second one and the Oars that Moria had was the original Oars, when in fact these are both Oars Jr. The wording throws you off, and you would only realize it if you caught a glimpse of Oars III Jolly Roger, which proves by his name being Oars III. So for the rest of this video, I will be referring to Joyboy as Oars, Moria's Oars as Oars II, and Little Oars Jr. as Oars III. Oda has been known to be a master at foreshadowing. The proof of Oars being Joyboy is when Oars III wears a giant straw hat that Ace gave him. Next up in Thriller Bark, Oda foreshadows many parallels between Luffy, Joyboy, and Oars. First off, Oda has Moria put Luffy's shadow in Oars. We can assume Luffy is the next Joyboy, or the new generation Joyboy, maybe even the reincarnation, so Oda could be hinting that Joyboy was an Oars. When he puts Luffy's shadow in Oars, this could be the hint. Soon after this, Oars' reaction is to put on a giant straw hat. This is also very tricky by Oda, and I believe it was intentional. It's imagery hidden in plain sight. Many will say, oh, Oars did that because the zombie retained some of his personality. We've seen this with Sanji. However, I do say that there are no coincidences with Oda, and I find it intriguing that in the small time period we have with Oars the second and Little Oars Jr. the third, we have them both putting on a straw hat, just like Luffy, who is Joyboy. And then keep in mind that there is also a giant straw hat kept frozen in Mary Joa. That actually leads me to my next point. The truth is, Moria had Oars II's dead corpse into what he refers as a special freezer. Similarly, Im walks into a gigantic freezer where we see a gigantic straw hat. The doors in both of these freezers are very similar, and in both scenes, Moria and Im are carrying Luffy. Moria is carrying Luffy in his shadow, while Im is carrying Luffy's wanted poster. Thriller Bark's castle and Mary Joa's look very similar. The inside could be even the same, but at least similar because they both have giant freezer rooms. Maybe Moria got this piece of ancient castle from God Valley, and Mary Joa could be the new castle that was reconstructed. Those are just my thoughts on the issue, but more parallels include they both have to walk up the stairs, and the scenes are very similar, with the structure of the freezer looking also the same. The parallel is Oda telling us that the gigantic straw hat belongs to a Joyboy, aka an Oars from the Void Century. Another possible hint foreshadowed during Thriller Bark is the cover of volume 48. You have Oars and Luffy doing the same thing. Also, Oars' mouth is perfectly placed to look like Oni horns on Luffy. Oda could be hinting that Joyboy wasn't Oars. What do you think? Now, one critical reason why I personally believe that Oars to be Joyboy is because I believe he was the one who created Wano. The title of the continent pooler is a very important hint, because it is very likely that Wano has many different islands put together by Oars, and don't forget that there is also a giant Oni head nearby Wano, Onigashima. How did this get there? Well, I believe Oars created Wano and there is a reason to it. It is important because Kaido's obsession for it could lie in the truth of Joyboy's lineage and who he was, Oars. We know that Kaido was at God Valley and his captain was Roxy Xebec. Well, that leads me to my next part of the theory, the connections between Oars, Goldie Roger, and Roxy Xebec. So Oda hints with symbolism, wordplay, and hidden meanings and codes. J.D. Rogers, the man who created this theory, believes Roger and Rox to be reincarnations of Oars. Roger, Xebec, and Oars, names are all connected. Roger is Jolly Roger, the flag of a pirate ship. Oars were stick poles used to steer the water of a ship. Xebec was a small 3 Iranian mastered ship during the 16th to 19th centuries. Now, what has a Jolly Roger and a Oars? A Xebec. For their names, Gold, Rox, and Oars, what happens when you put Gold and Rox together? You end up with Golden Ore. Now, this is definitely a play on words because turn gold into gold and oars into oars, O-R-E-S, and change it simply by the spelling. A true homophone that Oda, being the genius he is, could definitely be capable of. And now to tie in the Wizard of Oz, we know that Oda was heavily inspired by Alice in Wonderland, so maybe it isn't such of a stretch to say that he was inspired by the Wizard of Oz. First, Goldie Roger. Goldie Roger is the biggest proof that Oda was inspired by the Wizard of Oz, because his name is Gold, and the yellow brick road is made of gold bricks. He represents the yellow brick road from the Wizard of Oz. A quote from the Wizard of Oz says, "They are currently striding along the yellow brick road to fame. The first step of the yellow brick road to fame and riches." The very first quote in One Piece is Gold Roger, the king of the pirates, had achieved it all. Wealth, fame, and power had all been his. He represents the yellow brick road because he has already achieved wealth and fame. The yellow brick road is the first step to fame and riches. For many pirates, Goldie Roger was actually the first step to riches. He inspired them to go find the One Piece. The next connection is with Roxy Xebec. He is important because of the God Valley incident. In The Wizard of Oz, there is a legendary place called the Emerald City, the final destination of the story. According to this theory, God Valley was based off Emerald City because it looks very similar. So if this is the case, does that mean Raftail is God Valley? I don't know, just something to think about it. If Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz was the final destination, maybe God Valley will also be. Anyways, how does this all connect to Oars? Well, another name for Oars is Oz. He is often referred as a mistranslation as Oz instead of Oars, depending on the translation. Even in the dub, they refer to Oars as Oz. Imagine a Japanese One Piece voice actor saying Oars. It could also sound like Oz. Why would the translation call him Oz? This theory says that it is another play on words, like how Goldie Roger means gold, not goal. In chapter 224, Bellamy says, "The age of pirate pipe dreams is over. The El Dorado, the Emerald City, the One Piece. Fools who are blinded by fantasy treasure can't see the treasure right at their feet." All three of these legends have to be real. The One Piece is most likely since we know that it's the name of the entire series, and Whitebeard, Oda, and Roger have confirmed it multiple times. El Dorado was proven to be real by Roger, Luffy, and Bellamy, and this makes me think that Emerald City most likely is as well. These three locations represent Roger, Rox, and Oars. Roger is El Dorado because he signed his name at El Dorado and found it, and he is also the Golden Man being named Gold. Emerald City is Rox because it looks exactly like God Valley. Oars or Joyboy represents the One Piece because he created it. Blackbeard and Luffy could also be the next Rox and Roger. Oars is connected to Goldie Roger because Oars created the One Piece and Roger found it. Also, they both had straw hats, and same with Luffy. Luffy has the straw hat and even made it a symbol as Straw Hat Luffy after making it as Jolly Roger. We can also assume that Luffy will find the One Piece in the end. Now for Rox and Blackbeard, Rox and Blackbeard have many similarities. Rox and Blackbeard both know Oars as Joyboy, and I believe this, I truly do. Blackbeard is a man who is obsessed and intrigued by history. It's understandable that Blackbeard knows many secrets. Luffy has found El Dorado, and if Blackbeard is the opposite yet the same as Luffy, maybe Blackbeard has a connection to God Valley. He could be from there, or maybe he knows where it is. What if, while Luffy found Skypiea years ago, Blackbeard actually found God Valley? How does Rocks and Blackbeard know about Oars? The Rocks pirate Jolly Roger is an Oars. Why would he make it an Oars into his Jolly Roger? Another thing he does is recruit Kaido at a young age. Aside from his potential and power, he may have recruited Kaido because he knew he was descended from Oars. Maybe Rocks told Kaido about his lineage, and this is why Kaido lives in Onigashima and is obsessed with Wano. And Blackbeard clearly has a connection to Rocks, with them having the same island and him naming the ship Xebec. He is also similar to Rocks because his Jolly Roger resembles Oars. Blackbeard has 3 skulls as a Jolly Roger. Yes, I understand that he most likely has 3 devil fruits, but Oars and Oars Jr. both wear the 3 skulls, and it could be a tradition passed on through the Oars generation. Blackbeard's historical prowess could be referencing Oars, and his own devil fruits has a dual meaning. Blackbeard is based off the real Blackbeard, Edward Teach. Edward Teach's Jolly Roger had a devil or an Oni with horns, just like Rock, which also has a devil. Blackbeard is now also with Moria, who has clear ties to Oars. And if Luffy found El Dorado and is connected to Roger, maybe Blackbeard has already discovered God Valley like I said. These are just my thoughts, but that does add to the theory. Next we have Pangea. Pangea is a supercontinent that existed during the late Paleozoic and Mesozoic era. Pangea may have existed in the real world, but I definitely know it existed in the One Piece world. Pangea existed in a time before the Void Century, which was not that long ago compared to how long people theorize it existed millions of years ago in our world. The castle in Marijoa is called Pangea Castle, very strange, and also the bridge into Kilo Wolf was commanded to be built 700 years ago by world nobles. It is said to connect islands, and is the government trying to recreate Pangea by connecting all the islands. The world government's logo looks like the 4 blues with Marijoa in the middle, all connected through a bridge. Why would the government want the world to be connected, also known as Pangea, or one piece of land? The name One Piece could be referencing Pangea. They want this because it makes it easier to rule over people and take away their freedom. The world government can't control places in the New World and the Grand Line because each location is separated by water. The Grand Line and New World are the perfect place for pirates, and they are able to roam freely and do what they please. What does this have to do with Oars and Joyboy? If the world government wants a tyrannical rule over one piece of land, Oars the continent puller pulled it apart, resulting in the creation of Wano, the Grand Line, and the New World, the entire geography of the entire One Piece world. This explains why climates on each Grand Line island are so vastly different. For example, you have Alabasta, but also Drum Island, and you also have Little Garden. The exact opposite of Pangea is what we now have in One Piece, a Pangea that is pulled apart into different islands and continents. This created the freedom for all the races in the world that go directly against the tyranny of celestial dragons. This could be why it is called the New World. It is also separated by the Red Line. Was the Red Line man-made, created by Oars, or created by the government? The New World, which also extends into the Grand Line, is the New World Oars created, which contains all of his allies that go against celestial dragons. The Minks, Wano, the Kozuki clan, Fishman Island, Skypeans, Alabasta, and many, many more. The reason the New World is called the New World is because it is literally the New World. Oars created Wano by placing different pieces of land from different climates together. He put all the best resources there and then put up the best borders. He put the most important areas all together by creating the greatest borders. In my personal opinion, this is why Wano has the best resources and the origins of the Straw Hats. But that's a video for a different time. Oda also made sure that Wano had the greatest borders. So if Wano was created this way, it is such a stretch to say that the entire Grand Line or New World was as well. Keep in mind the entire Void Century was erased 100-year time period. Oars II lived over 100 years, so it's definitely possible that the original Oars, or Joyboy, spent decades destroying the world and creating a new one. This theory states that the geography of the One Piece world is key to the One Piece and the Void Century and the entire history of the world. Proof of this goes all the way back to Skypiea and Noland. Noland found the Shandians and explored and found many new islands 400 years ago, about the halfway mark between where we are now. This proves that the Grand Line is relatively new. The Shandians had never seen any foreigners before Noland. They live isolated, and when we finally find Noland had also found the Tontatas, who were isolated from the world as well. I would also like to add that the world government just recently made its way into the New World with New Marineford, but it seems like 400 years ago, not even the government had found islands like Shandorians, Tontatas like Dressrosa, and many other areas within the Grand Line and New World. Keep in mind that Nami wants to circumnavigate the world, but Roger was the first one to do this. Why are there no maps around the entire world, around the Grand Line and the New World? Well, the real answer is because it is a new thing that had to be explored. Next up in this theory, we have Punk Hazard. Punk Hazard has many Oars symbolism. Is it a coincidence that the world government's danger sign is an Oars head that looks very similar to the giant demon skull on Onigashima? The logo for the sign of danger is an Oars head. This could be because Oars was the first enemy of the Celestial Dragons, also the greatest enemy that also they fought in the war. Putting dirt on the Oni Race and Oni family, Oars family, is calling them devils. With the Void Century destroyed, it can manipulate and alter the perception of Oars and the Onis, making them seem very dangerous, making them seem evil and the logo of danger, even calling them the devils of the world, the exact opposite of gods. Just like Joyboy, he is known as the devil. These devils are the exact same opposite of the Celestial Dragons, the gods of the world. Could this play into the will of D? Well, we find out from Law that those who carry on the will of D are the natural enemies of the gods. Maybe the clan of D are descendants to Joyboy and his crew. Now moving on, we have the Yeti brothers. The most irrelevant characters are actually important in this theory. Chapter 666 is when they are introduced. Why is this important? Well, many of you know that the 666 number is the devil's number. Just like Oars is labeled a devil, Oda is clearly hinting at Oars being Joyboy, with the Yeti brothers wearing straw hats. They could be descendants of Oars, and has anyone ever explained why they have these straw hats? No, not to my knowledge. They are also giants with red eyes and red fingers. Them having the straw hat could be a hint, especially because their names are also very strange. Rock and Scotch. Rock clearly resembles Rock's Xebec, and Scotch symbolizes Goldie Roger because Scotch is a gold color and oftentimes alcohol brands name their Scotch Gold. You have Scotch Gold, Gold Label Reserve, Islet Gold, and the list goes on and on and on. Seriously, a lot of times you name gold Scotch. The phrase Scotch on the rocks. Rocks and Roger are somewhat the same. Alcohol on ice, well, of course it fits in with the Yeti brothers. And did you know that there is also a character in the One Piece world named Scotch who is not a Yeti brother? There are actually two Scotches. He is a cyborg and has red hair similar to Oars III. He is also a part of Kaido's crew. Is Scotch from Kaido's crew connected to the Yeti brothers? When we see Drake post time skip, he is searching for Kaido. He approached Scotch and Scotch tells him, "Do you know where you are? This is one of Kaido's favorite islands." Maybe the Yeti brothers are from here, or maybe Oars II, which Moria has frozen, was from this island. Moria and Kaido clashed. Was it over Oars II's corpse? If Moria and Kaido are the same race, maybe Kaido let Moria live because of this. Maybe Moria is actually his friend, or maybe Moria convinced Kaido that because of his devil fruit ability being perfect for bringing Oars II back, he would let Moria live. Also, remember how Doflamingo was ordered from the highest elites, most likely the Gordosei or Im, to kill Moria in the same chapter. Doflamingo says he vanished and escaped into thin air, but maybe Doflamingo allowed him to escape. If Kaido and Moria have some kind of connection because of Oars, Kaido could have ordered Doflamingo to let him escape. Anyways, Drake ends up killing Scotch, and then the next thing we find out is that Drake is a part of Kaido's crew. Also, why did the higher-ups want Moria dead? Was he that deadly? Why is Agorose so concerned with Moria? So Drake is a part of Kaido's crew now. What is so important about this island that Kaido would come directly? Secret of Oars or the Yeti brothers? Maybe it is where Kaido is from. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. Maybe it has something to do with rocks. But since Scotch from Kaido's crew is not very strong, Scotch being here at this island most likely means something. Also, Kaido has an obsession with resurrecting the Oni Race. Something like numbers exist is a truly important detail. His army is an army of beasts, the beast pirates, and he lives in the Onigashima head. Connecting Kaido's obsession with the Oni Race, and then I wonder, why did he choose Wano? Well, maybe he found out the truth about Oars creating Wano. Kaido confirms when facing Yamato that they are members of the Oni Race. The reason Kaido believes himself and Yamato to be true descendants of Oars could be why he believes they deserve to rule Wano instead of Orochi and Momo. Caesar the Clown was also linked to Kaido through Doflamingo. Vegapunk could have also been through Queen and Punk Hazard as well. In Punk Hazard, Caesar the Clown has horns. He kidnapped kids and created them into giants. He wants to go down as the greatest scientist. Law says that the government wants to create giants to have the greatest military power. They've been trying to do this for a while. If they had an army of giants, no one would be able to stop them. So when Law says this, you can see a giant Oni with horns in the background. It looks exactly like little Oars Jr. III. The government knows firsthand about the power of the Oni race. They had to go fight against Oars, so they know about their dominant strength and power, and it could also be why the danger logo is Oars. Oars could most likely live for 300 years because the Elbaf giants could as well. He easily could have been alive for the entire Void Century, maybe even all of his prime in that time, and a great war may have started between the Celestial Dragons and the Ancient Kingdom. This war may have lasted even 100 years, or possibly at least many decades. Joyboy was most likely the king and the leader of this army. Someone who brought everyone together from all different races like Minks, Skypians, Fishmen, Kozuki clan, Neptunians, Amazonians, Lunarians, Onis, Giants, even more. They faced off against the Celestial Dragons and the human race. Do you ever wonder about the Noah, the gigantic ship that could definitely fit an Oni and giants? And why Joyboy apologized to the Fishman Island? Joyboy destroyed the world, and this would give them the chance to win a future war one day. Once Joyboy realized they would lose this war, it was his final hope to destroy everything. The war is talked about by Kaido, Shanks, and Dragon, and many more. Oars made an island for each race and each clan that supported him. They put them all in the Noah, like how Noah saved the animals in the Bible. Oars in the story of the Void Century will be biblical. He may have died in Onigashima, and that could be his head. More proof of this is Toki. Toki was born 830 years ago. When she was 26, she traveled 30 years into the future. She is currently looking for Wano, but why doesn't she know where it is despite looking like she is from there? How does she not know if a place named Wano even exists? The reason she doesn't know this is because Oars told Toki he is going to create a land named Wano. He told her he would make a land with the greatest borders, and Toki may have traveled with Oars and Oars' son, or maybe possibly Oars Jr. It's interesting to me that Ace infiltrated Wano. We know he met Yamato or even Tama. We also know that the straw hat that Ace gave Oars was from Wano. Now, why did Ace go to Wano? Well, maybe Oars told Ace about Wano and how to get in. Ace definitely wanted to fight Kaido, but maybe Oars told him about his race as well. Unless Whitebeard told Ace to go to Wano, but that's unlikely because we've seen Whitebeard telling Ace not to go. I truly believe that Ace, Wano, and this is all connected to Oars III. Maybe Kaido was looking for Oars III, and that's why Ace had to fight Kaido. This is all just speculation, however. Toki's mission was to find the land 800 years in the future. Find Wano. The era where the next war is prophesized. Oars put the people of Wano there, and the Kozuki leader was his ally. He told them what the One Piece is, and told them to create the poneglyphs so that in the future, people could find the One Piece. They placed very important ones with the allies of the Ancient Kingdom. Fishman Island. You had the Fishmen, you had the Neptunians, and you had Zou, the Minks. The Ancient Kingdom ruled over the world and had peace until the Celestial Dragons decided they were gods and ruled over with slavery and tyranny. How did Oars die? Well, I believe he may have finally died after finishing his mission creating Wano. Kaido may have learned this information from rocks. Maybe that is why Kaido is so racist to humans. Kaido says, do you really think of any samurai as your comrade to Yamato? And Yamato is following in Oars' footsteps without even knowing by allying with the samurai and with Luffy. It's possible that someone from Wano betrayed Oars in the end, and this resulted in his death. Maybe someone from Orochi's lineage, similar to how he betrayed Oden. Kaido may want to control Wano, but such a cruel leader for this belief. It could also be a misconception lost in translation of history. Kaido also tells Yamato, you are a child of the ogres or the Oni race. I think it's interesting that Oars also sounds like ogres and Oz. But maybe I'm just looking too far into it. He tells Yamato her fate not to be friends with the humans. Kaido hates humans for many reasons, and I can't wait to find out why. Kaido's hatred is very similar to Doflamingo's. They could be a team up, and they both might want to see the world burn together. In many ways, Doflamingo has an enemy who is higher ups like the Gorosei. Maybe that is also Kaido's true enemy. But then we have a connection between Shanks and Gorosei, so it makes me question what is actually going on here. Doflamingo and Shanks both hint at a war, but they have very different views on what this war will be. This theory states that the will of D means devil, just like how the label Joyboy a devil. God's natural enemy, the devil. Do they believe the will of D are evil? Put the letter D in front of evil and you get devil. And we know that the government labels many people demonic or devil, like Nico Robin, the demon child, and maybe even Zoro in the beginning of One Piece, where he is known as the demon hunter. Zoro even refers to Luffy as a devil, as well as Whitebeard referring to Luffy as a devil. Then we also have devil fruits themselves. What connection do these devil fruits have to Kaido, the Oni Race, or Oars? All the way back in the first volume of One Piece, Oda tells us how Jolly Roger signifies devil, just like how Oars, Joyboy, is a devil. He goes on and says Jolly Roger could be related to Old Roger, which was a name for devil. Old Roger sounds a lot like Gold Roger, which is where the part of the inspiration for Gold Roger most likely came from. And then we have another possibility that Roger originally was the word Rouge, meaning a thief or villain. Who else is Rouge? Ace's mom, Portgas D. Rouge. Rouge and Roger mean essentially the same thing, and it's interesting that they ended up having a child together. So yes, it's possible that the will of D means devil. I always believed that the will of D meant destiny. As we know of the prophecies, Luffy is Joyboy, and he is destined by fate to go against the gods. Could it be devil and destiny? Maybe. The Gorosei stated that the D could also mean danger, just like the world government's sign of danger that is plastered with a devil or his head. It's clear that Oda had this idea of devils being so important to the story of One Piece since the very beginning. And if you think about it, Roger and Jolly Roger being a devil means that all the pirates are technically supporting Oars in his wishes. They're all roaming freely, searching for the One Piece. When Roger announces the One Piece is real, this enacts a new age of piracy, which is actually doing what Oars always wanted. Now, who else could be part of the Oni race? Well, Oars and Oars II and Little Oars Jr. are definitely the main members, but Kaido, Yamato are also confirmed to be by Kaido. And I would also say that Moria and the Yeti brothers are definitely part of this lineage. How about the Tobiropo? They do have the horns, and besides Drake, it seems like we don't really know too much about them, but they could definitely be Onis. And are the numbers Kaido is attempting to create Onis? Like I said, Kaido could have been fighting Moria over Oars, but let him live multiple times because of his heritage. Now, like I said, please go check out the original video because there was so much research put into this video and so many images that prove this theory, and it will blow your mind, I guarantee you. The amount of imagery, foreshadowing, and hints that Oda has been giving us is ridiculous. Go subscribe to the main channel that this video originally came from. Go like the video as well. Go comment, let them know what you think. I will definitely link the video in the description. Now, I would like to add my own personal thoughts. First of all, let's talk about Jaguar D. Saul. It always lingers in my mind the fact that Jaguar D. Saul has many of the most intriguing dialogue in the entire series. A man who stated that not all giants are violent beasts. He claimed that there were also gentle giants. He was talking about Onis and Elbafs. The Onis are the powerful, demonic, violent creatures, with the Elbaf giants being gentle giants, or at least in comparison to Onis and Oars. Jaguar D. Saul also talks about how everyone in his clan has the will of D. Were the Elbaf giants defenders of the ancient kingdom? Were they the knights, the royal knights? Well, I think this is definitely a possibility, and they were most likely connected to Oars and Joyboy. Some have said that Jaguar D. Saul is still alive. I do somewhat agree with this theory, and it revolves around the idea that Aokiji has cryogenically frozen Jaguar D. Saul since the attack that he used was called Ice Time Capsule. And also think about the fact that this could be a hint since he's the only non-human Will of D member that we know of so far, with a connection to the freezer within Mary Joa and Mariah's as well. For example, maybe it's a possibility that a past user of Aokiji's Devil Fruit used the powers of that fruit to create these capsule freezers that are now Mariah's freezer and Eames. I mean, it has been stated that half the island of Punk Hazard was frozen from Aokiji's fruit, so it is possible that Aokiji can make an entire freezer a time capsule. Another thing I would definitely want to bring up here is Little Oars Jr. the third's significance to Marineford. Little Oars Jr. the third has the straw hat that Ace gave him, similarly to how Luffy has the straw hat. It can both be seen carefree and appreciate the smaller things in life. They both have an obsession with the straw hat, an extreme sense of loyalty, especially towards Ace. Oars showing up in Marineford is a clear parallel to Luffy showing up. In fact, it is so similar that I'm surprised more people don't bring this up. Luffy and Oars are doing the exact same thing, and both showed up unexpectedly as well. Oars and Luffy are the same in almost every single way. The one time we've seen Oars Jr., he is exactly the same as Luffy, and I don't think that is a coincidence at all. They will both do anything it takes to rescue Ace, and both go to such lengths, with Oars and Luffy leading the charge. It's interesting as well because since we only seen Oars the third and not the other two Oars, with Oars the third we see someone who is caring, compassionate, loyal, and determined, someone who values friendship. Now, I'm not saying the previous Oars were exactly like this, but if Luffy is being compared to Oars the third, and Luffy is also Joyboy and similar in nature to Roger, it proves a point of a lie about Joyboy. What we now have here is the grandson direct descendant of Oars fighting alongside the resurrection and prophesized Joyboy, fighting to save Goldie Roger and Portgas D. Roche's son. They've called Oars and the Oni Race devils, but their personalities are quite different to what they are hyped up to be. Joyboy was also known as a devil. Was that a lie, or was it a half-baked truth? If Roger and Rocks, Blackbeard and Luffy are two sides of the same coin, maybe they are the two prophesized Joyboys. Maybe the original Joyboy was an insane, crazy guy who had his dark side, but also a caring and loyal king. The world government has gone so far to throw dirt on Oars' name and make them out to be violent, angry, evil beasts. But the one Oars that we do see was the exact opposite. And the two biggest players that were not allies of the Whitebeard Pirates was Luffy and the Impel Down escapees, and Oars and his crew. If Little Oars Jr. was this powerful, imagine what the Joyboy Oars could do. We see Little Oars Jr. carry a gigantic sword. Similarly, we also have a gigantic sword in Onigashima that's right next to the Oni head. Is this a reference to Oars Jr. and the Oars head in Onigashima? I think it is. This could also be a reference to show that Little Oars Jr. maybe got his sword and his straw hat from Wano. We know he got the hat, but what if he also got the gigantic sword? Maybe the Kozuki clan created the giant sword and maybe Joyboy's big straw hat. It's even stated that Ace learned about how to make a straw hat from Wano, so this proves that theory even more. Also, I discovered that Little Oars Jr., the third's favorite food is onigiri. Sound familiar? Well, obviously the first thing that you think of is Zoro's 3-sword style attack. 3 swords, 3 oars, and also this could be a reference to Zoro being from Wano, as well as the pun Oni that sounds like Oni Race. Also, the onigiri is a triangular rice ball from Japan. Maybe Toki made it for him when he was a kid, and you know, that's just my personal thought on the matter. Don't take it too seriously, but that could be why it is his favorite food. At the very least, that is another possible connection, including Wano and Little Oars Jr. The picture of Law talking about the government creating giants and Punk Hazard is very similar to Oars' introduction in chapter 554. The shadows look almost identical, and while Oars is fighting the Marines here, the Law reference shows a giant Oars shadow about to destroy a royal castle. Was this the previous Pangea castle? I mean, who knows, but also Oars Jr. enters Marineford, and then the first encounter we see are Moria, Doflamingo, and Bart. Bart is dead silent, but I'm kind of confused about this. However, Doflamingo, he is starting to get excited, and Moria is obviously excited because his connection to Oars. The entrance of Oars is one of the most unexpected things to happen in Marineford, yet when you really think about the parallels between him and Luffy, they were pushed so hard by Oda. Chapter 666 is the Yeti Bros, but chapter 555 is titled Oars and the Hat. Anyways guys, don't forget to hit the like button. This is a long theory, a lot going into it, but I truly believe that Oars is Joyboy. I hope I've convinced you. If not, who do you think Oars is? Because think about it. Who do we know that was referenced from that far back? Oda, I truly believe that Oda would have referenced someone to be Joyboy. Because if you think about it, there will be many hints that will prove who Joyboy was. And at this point, 1,000 chapters in, it's definitely possible and likely that Oda has referenced the name, but we just didn't put all the pieces together. So that is why I believe Joyboy and Oars to be the same. Now let me know, did you like the video? Go check out the original video, I'll leave the link in the description. See you next time, don't forget to have a great day, and stay tuned for more One Piece content.